This is Global Signals by Andrew Dremen. Deep dives and insights about retail and FMCG. Today, we're unpacking a massive shift happening right now in the UK grocery landscape. We're going to see what the recent Competition and Markets Authority ruling actually means for giant German discounters Aldi and Lidl as we march toward 2026.
Here's how we're breaking it down today. First, the CMA reality check, followed by the evolution of the discounter, the real estate battleground, the impact on FMCG brands, and finally, UK grocery trends for 2026. Let's get right into it.
Starting off with Part 1, the CMA reality check. We're looking at a major regulatory change that firmly marks the end of an era for the German discounters.
For years, Aldi and Lidl have essentially pitched themselves as simple, limited assortment stores. But the UK Competition and Markets Authority, the CMA, just officially killed that narrative. Why? Well, it turns out they actually understated their store product ranges by a staggering 40% in official regulatory filings. So the CMA stepped in and officially slapped them with the label of large grocery retailers.
Now you might be thinking, so what? But this isn't just a minor paperwork change. This designation literally strips away their ability to claim small operator exemptions. They simply can't operate under those protective rules anymore, while simultaneously grabbing massive double-digit market share away from traditional legacy chains. You know, the Tesco's, Sainsbury's, Asda's, and Morrisons of the world. Ultimately, for everyday shoppers, this means the playing field is officially being leveled.
Moving to Part 2, evolution of the discounter. To really grasp why this ruling came down, we have to look at the operational data that actually forced the CMA's hand.
Just look at the structural differences between traditional grocers and these modern hard discounters. Take the SKU count, the number of unique items they sell. A traditional UK supermarket like Tesco handles anywhere from 25,000 to over 35,000 SKUs. A discounter, just 2,500 to 3,000. Traditional spots rely on high staffing for things like specialist counters and individually stocking shelves, whereas discounters run on minimal staffing, multitasking floor teams, and retail-ready packaging where goods just sit straight on pallets. But here is the kicker. Despite these massive operational differences, they're now both serving the exact same primary shopping mission, the full weekly shop.
And check out the massive dominance of private labels here. To pull off that full weekly shop, Aldi and Lidl don't bother stocking 15 brands of ketchup or 8 types of standard white sugar. They give you one private label option and maybe one major brand leader. A whopping 85 to 90% of their share is private label, flying efficiently straight off wooden pallets and transit cartons, so their low-cost operating model remains totally intact.
So, this begs the question, if their item counts are still only a fraction, like 10% of a standard superstore, how did they trigger this massive CMA intervention? Well, it boils down to this. The critical factor is category breadth, not SKU depth.
Let's look at how this evolved over time. Back in the 90s and early 2000s, people hit up discounters for cheap canned goods and toilet paper. It was just a top-up stop, sitting at around 800 items. You went there, and then you drove to a regular supermarket for the rest. By the 2010s, that grew to about 1,500 items, capturing a bigger chunk of the basket. But today, in the 2020s, they've bulked up to roughly 2,800 SKUs. They've successfully morphed into a primary destination capable of capturing 100% of a family's full weekly food needs.
So how exactly did they pull off stealing the entire family basket with so few items? It was a highly calculated strategy built on 3 pillars. First, complete meal solutions. They expanded into fresh meat, fish, organic lines, gluten-free, and baby care. Second, the middle aisle draw. Those rotating non-food special buys that drive crazy foot traffic without permanently clogging up food inventory. And third, premium private labels. Think Aldi's specially selected or Lidl's deluxe ranges, which basically replace premium brands directly.
Which brings us to Part 3, the real estate battleground. Let's see how this all spills over into the physical world. Because the biggest regulatory impact of the CMA ruling directly hits store locations and commercial property agreements.
Because Aldi and Lidl are now officially branded as large grocery retailers, they fall squarely under the UK groceries market investigation, specifically the Controlled Land Order. That means they are strictly banned from using anti-competitive land agreements. No more restrictive covenants, which place legal blocks on sold land to stop rivals from setting up shop. And no more exclusivity agreements, meaning they can't sign long leases that forbid landlords from renting nearby units to competing grocery stores.
In short, the loophole is slammed shut. Before this, they used their small retailer status to dodge these strict land rules. They could literally open a store and legally block legacy competitors or even other discounters from taking adjacent real estate. That huge advantage is totally gone. Now, they've got to play by the exact same commercial property rules as Tesco and Sainsbury's.
All right, part 4, impact on FMCG brands. What does this mean strategically for fast-moving consumer goods brands?
Well, space on those discounter shelves is still incredibly tight. Remember, they aren't expanding to 10,000 items. So for FMCG brands trying to secure distribution, the rules are absolutely brutal. First, there's zero tolerance for slow movers. Your product has to maintain a high inventory turnover right from week 1. On top of that, if your branded product doesn't outsell the private label item it's temporarily replacing, immediate delisting. It's a ruthless environment. They're just not going to carry secondary sizes or that weird experimental flavor nobody's buying. To keep operating costs rock bottom while still giving shoppers some variety, discounters are entirely avoiding permanent branded item expansion. Instead, their strategy relies heavily on in and out temporary promotional buys. So they'll bring in a branded item for 2 or 3 weeks on a pallet display, sell it completely out, and clear the floor, all without ever adding permanent supply chain overhead.
Finally, Part 5, UK Grocery Trends 2026. With the CMA playing field leveled and discounters operating at a massive scale, we're shifting from stealthy growth to direct, head-on confrontation.
21%. That's the number to watch. Aldi and Lidl are absolutely no longer niche players. Their combined UK market share is projected to cross that 20 to 21% threshold in 2026. And what's really fascinating is that this growth isn't just coming from ultra-price-sensitive shoppers anymore. Middle-income households are now using discounters as their primary grocer, driven heavily by those premium private label ranges we talked about. Now, traditional legacy grocers simply can't afford to bleed any more volume, so they're fighting back hard. Expect giants like Tesco and Sainsbury's to aggressively maintain their Aldi price match campaigns on 500 to 700 key value items. We're talking the essentials: milk, bread, eggs, seasonal produce, bananas. But the real battle for profit margins? That's going down inside loyalty apps like Tesco Clubcard and Sainsbury's Nectar. They're deploying two-tier pricing, where general shelf prices stay a bit higher to protect margins, but app-only discounts keep shoppers from jumping ship.
And circling back to that real estate battleground, with those land exclusivity covenants banned, commercial property fights are going to get super visible. Historically, they'd avoid direct competition, but by 2026, expect discounters to intentionally open on the exact same retail park or even share a parking lot with traditional grocers. They want to be right next door to those high-cost supermarkets to capture the split basket shoppers. So don't be shocked if an Aldi suddenly pops up right next to your usual supermarket.
Look, expanding their range up to 2,800 items didn't mean they lost their operational discipline. It was a highly calculated move to win your entire household budget. The source text nails it with this quote: "They are no longer challenger startups that need regulatory protection. They run mature, high-volume retail networks, and UK competition regulations now reflect that reality." So how will legacy grocers survive this new era of side-by-side combat? That is the billion-dollar question for 2026. You are watching Global Signals by Andrew Dremen, deep dives and insights about retail and FMCG.